After a decade of helping dental practices grow through proven online marketing strategies, there's one common misconception that I see in practices who say, my marketing isn't working, or they say, I've tried marketing our practice and we just haven't seen any results from it. And they all have this one thing in common. Welcome back to the Dental Practice Launch Podcast. I am your host, Shane Simmons. I'm the founder and CEO of Crimson Media Dental Marketing, where we help dental practices grow through proven online marketing strategies. And we call those omnipresence strategies, which we're going to talk about here today. But as you probably saw from the beginning of this episode, of course, I've talked with hundreds and hundreds of dentists over the years, and of course, worked with hundreds of dentists over the years as well. And there is one common thing that I often hear when I talk to a practice owner who comes to us and says, hey, I just don't know why our marketing isn't working. And there's been some trends here. And one of the biggest misconceptions I see with dental practices, no matter if it's a startup or it's an established practice, is there's this idea out there that a patient sees your ad, they click it, and then they book right away. And that's just not how people really make decisions anymore, especially in this online world, right? Now, there are some cases where that happens. In particular, if someone's having an emergency, right? There's less research that they're going to be doing and maybe a little bit more transactional in that sense from click to call. And certainly that's one reason we like doing emergency ads and marketing, especially for startup practices or practices who need to start generating patients quickly. But in reality, when you're building a practice, it's not so transactional from click to call right away. Patients are really watching you long before they ever schedule an appointment. And so how I want you to think about this is before you establish care with maybe a primary care provider, or maybe it's a new service of some sort that you're going to be investing in. Maybe it's a new car that you're buying, or you're researching a new furnace or air conditioner for your house, whatever it may be. I want you to think about, if you just type in, so let's use a car example. Say you're wanting to buy a Chevy Silverado, right? Truck. So you type in, Chevy Silverado for sale. Do you click the first thing that you see and then call directly from that thing that you saw? Or do you do a little bit of research? Do you maybe check out a few different dealerships and then check their reviews and then, just kind of monitor and compare price or whatever it may be? Like, there's multiple steps there. It's the same way in dentistry, right? Where people aren't as transactional from that first click. Like I said, there are those type of cases, but vast majority of people are going to be doing a little bit of research. So how does this tie back to what I see in issues when a practice says my marketing's not working? It's typically one of two things. Either they are using only one channel for their marketing and they've put 100% of their eggs in that basket. So for example, I see a lot of practices who come to us and say, yeah, we're running social media ads. Okay. And that's their sole focus, but they're not doing anything with their Google presence. They're not running Google ads. Maybe they're not doing a Google review campaign, or they're not regularly posting to their social media. They're just running social media ads. And what they're expecting from that, or what they're setting themselves up for, whether they realize it or not, is just one channel where they're trying to get those, very quick transactional, form submissions or phone calls to booked appointment. And for anybody who has ran Facebook ads, in particular Facebook lead ads here in the last few years, you've probably noticed that majority of those leads that you often get don't book. And there's a reason for that. There's multiple reasons. I won't spend all this episode on it, but one of the reasons is you're putting something in their face. It's an interruptive marketing tactic, which is good, but that's your only influence point, and you're not really selling or influencing the patient to schedule an appointment, right? So that's where I see it, is often one channel that practices are going in, and they're expecting, just you launch the ad, people click it, and they start calling and booking appointments. And sometimes that's going to happen, but majority of times that's just not the way it works. So that's why it's so important to create an omnipresence, which I'm going to get into here shortly. But that's the first reason a lot of practice marketing isn't working. The second reason, so let's say, for example, that you are running multiple different campaigns and avenues and have more of this omnipresence approach where you're running ads on social media, you're regularly posting on your social media, you're focusing on Google reviews and getting Google reviews for the practice, and then you have a great organic Google presence, and you have a paid Google ads presence, and you have an internal patient referral system. Say you have all of those things in place. Oftentimes the reason the marketing isn't working in that case is because it hasn't been long enough. That's just kind of the reality of it. And it's unfortunate we live today in such a world, and if you're listening to this and you're a dentist, you know this with even your patients, but we want things now, right? We don't really have a discipline anymore in our age of access for delayed gratification. And that's where the biggest, hiccup or mistake that I see with practices who are maybe doing all these different marketing strategies is they don't give it long enough. And what is long enough? Well, that's going to depend on a lot of different things, from your location, type of practice you have, type of patients you're trying to attract. There's multiple factors here, but even a year is not that much time. Like, you have to build authority, build relationship in the community through your omnipresence marketing. And a perfect example of this and how we look at this is, rather than the first example of doing a very transactional, say you're just running social media ads, what we do is we run social media ads, but they're not necessarily lead ads, right? They're building awareness of who you are, what makes the practice different, the patient experience different, hearing from actual patients, and using that to drive video views on that ad, traffic to the website or landing page. Because then what happens is anybody who interacts with that ad, we can then retarget them in the future or show them other ads. And so think about the power of that as well. We're not coming out and doing like a hard sell right out the gate necessarily. But what it does is it starts to build trust. It gets you on their radar. They'll start to see your ads regularly. They'll start to then go and look at reviews like patients do, go visit your website, which is the importance of making sure everything's cohesive together. The website's telling the same story that your social media ads are, that your Google presence is telling that story, and that you have visibility there. And then once you have all these touch points, that's when patients then often say, you know what, I've been seeing things about this practice. They've got great reviews. They seem really nice. Seems like a great place. I'm going to schedule an appointment. And the great thing about this now is we have the data that shows this. So we can see in call reports, for example, that oftentimes the first touch point, maybe a social media ad. So we have one perfect example of this. A few weeks ago, I was looking at where the first time that this person actually clicked on a client's dental office's ad, one of our clients, was back in October. Okay, so I'm recording this in April right now, 2026. They had clicked on the first social media ad in October 2025. From there, we could see the journey. So they had clicked on multiple social media ads. They had then, in the month of February, went to Google and went to the website. And then in the month of March, they actually called and scheduled an appointment for their entire family. And we saw that original journey started back in October from the social media ad. They converted, right? They called from Google in March, but it took that time of them continuously seeing things about the practice and who they were and what made them unique before they made that decision. Maybe it was they just didn't need a dentist at the time. Maybe they just weren't sold completely yet, right? There's life events that could have happened. The holidays were during that time. But we tracked it and we could see it. And we see this every single day with our clients. And so this would be my biggest advice to you is, take the road less traveled, but it's the more sustainable, predictable, and profitable road in the long term. And that is an omnipresence marketing strategy. You have to be everywhere your potential patients are online in the public. and continuing to have different touch points with them and different testimonials and things of, about you and the practice. So you got to have fresh ads and fresh content running and continually generating Google reviews. But doing that over the long term is where the power is. And that's where this compounding effect really takes place. And I talk about the compounding effect all the time. The last example I want to use of this is in closing. We have a startup practice. It's a fee-for-service practice. That's a startup, opened about 3 years ago. Okay. And for the first year, this person had come from a corporate background, right? So they'd come from a corporate background. So they're used to volume, and their practice was doing well, seeing 30 new patients a month as a fee-for-service startup practice, doing very well. But she kept saying like, hey, Shane, it's like, I just want to see more growth faster. It's like, we're seeing growth, but I want to see growth faster. And I just, me and the team kept telling her like, hey, stick to the process here. Like, you're going to see that, right? We're building this reputation. We're building our name in the community right now. This is all compounding. As we continue to get more reviews, we throw that kind of fuel on the fire, and this is going to grow. And we're seeing the growth, right? We could plug it into a chart and we can see that growth. And this past month, I was having a conversation with the same client who had over 50 new patients in their fee-for-service practice for the month of March, and had a record production and collection month as well. And she said to me, she said, Shane, I know what you were talking about now. I see it. I'm seeing everything that we've been doing now compounding. And it's years in the making, right? But that years in the making, that discipline and that consistency is what led to today's predictable, profitable, and sustainable growth, because now there's a strong reputation. So think about becoming less of, hey, I'm going to try it out for 3 months and run some ads. And if I don't, see X amount of new patients, then marketing doesn't work. That's just not how marketing works. It's just not what it is. You have to have multiple touch points. You have to be consistent. And I'll end on this. Maybe I should have started with this, but I'm going to end on it. There was a recent study put together by a great marketing mind that I follow. His name's Neil Patel. If any of you are familiar with marketing, you've probably heard of Neil Patel before. And this recent study that they had conducted showed that on average, people need around 10 or 11 touch points before they actually contact a business. 10 or 11 touch points. So stop thinking of ads as they click on it and they call right away. Well, again, we have some of those cases. Some of that happens, especially around emergency marketing. What it's really about is this kind of non-linear journey of multiple touch points over and over that's nurturing and building that relationship with that patient over time. So just remember, it's building trust, and ultimately familiarity builds trust, and then trust drives decisions. Hence the omnipresence marketing strategy, and why it is critical for an exceptional marketing campaign for a practice. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Dental Practice Launch Podcast. It was kind of a shorter one. Appreciate you all hanging in there. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast. That helps us out tremendously. If you're seeing this on social media, appreciate you following, and stay tuned for our next episode of Dental Practice Launch Podcast. We'll see you then.